Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington on a beautiful sunny day, looking out of the south side of Seattle. And now I gotta always remember to turn off my video chat platforms that I'm monitoring on, because we are now streaming live to Instagram, and that was from my phone monitoring the Instagram thing, if you heard that in the background. Anyways, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, with none other than Martin Eyerer, coming in from Berlin, Germany. I got that right, didn't I, Martin?
Absolutely. What an introduction. Thanks to be back again there, Darren.
Yeah, we haven't talked since I think June of 2022. I was looking it up. Things are just starting to kind of get back out there in the world, and now we're catching up again. I'm glad to have you on the show. I still want to make it over to Germany and come tour your studio facility. We'll be talking a little bit about that. I remember when I was looking up doing the research on you online today, and I pulled up Riverside Studios, and I was like, oh, my next dream vacation. I want to get there and come
But
there.
bro, you said that last time already, but you didn't show up yet.
I didn't. Well, no, we went. I think ADE was the first time we went. We went in 2022, and we went in 2023. So I may or may not do ADE this year, but I am looking to go other places in Europe. Riverside would be one of the first places I stop by. If I want to do France, Germany, Italy is probably what I'll do, and probably go over to I have never been to Ibiza, so I definitely want to try to get there. I know it's summertime right now.
But I tell you something. There is no other city like Berlin when it comes to electronic music, yeah? You know that, and club culture. 108 clubs, techno clubs here in that city.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard the number. It's 108.
Wow, we have 10.
There is 30. That's an official number, actually. It's interesting. 30% of the tourists coming to Berlin, and that's like we constantly have 1 million tourists in the city coming because of the club life, the club scene, and the culture here.
Wow, how big is Berlin actually? What's the population there?
It's for US cities. It's small. It's 4 million people.
Okay.
Not that big, but by size, like not by inhabitants or citizens, it's the largest city after London in all over Europe.
Wow. Okay.
And it's growing fast. But if you look into US cities, 4 million is nothing.
Is there a better time to go to Berlin of the year? Is summertime better than wintertime, or is it is there a moderate time?
Spring and autumn. Spring and autumn. The thing is, summer can be hot too. This summer, not so much. Actually, it's weird, but it's really hot. And Berlin, the nice thing is we're pretty far east. That means in summer, the day starts at 4:30 and ends at 11. So there's really long days.
Okay.
So it's the opposite in winter, where it's dark and reminds me kind of, I don't know, New York. But even worse, actually, it's dark. But summer, spring, autumn, beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, that's when I'd want to get out. Probably maybe this autumn. Then I'll look forward to setting something out, because I'd love to get out there and maybe even do some on-site interviews at the studios with you.
Absolutely. We have 60 artists in our community, so there should be enough people to do a proper interviews for you.
That would be awesome. And maybe we can set up, if you have some nightclub contacts, get out there and get behind the scenes out in the street. I'd love to plan a week out there and come. You know what? That might be my trip this year. Maybe I'll skip ADE and just come out to Riverside. Or are you going to do ADE this year?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I haven't done ADE since a while. I have to say that. I mean, it's always nice. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to show up. But on the other hand, it's always like, all these people. I meet them frequently. I speak to them. And yeah, again, it's nice to have some party and refresh personal connections other than calls, definitely. But then there's so much to do, and I'm doing so many things. So every year, I'm like, okay, this year I'm going to go, and then there's other stuff around. So let's see.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I hear you. Like I said, I need to put some more stamps in my passport anyway. So I'd probably just love to come out to Germany and go to Berlin, and then, hop, skip, and jump over to, France, Paris or something. And then maybe get Spain or Italy, one of those two, and do like a good 2.5 weeks trip over there, doing some on-site, on-the-ground international interviews. I love doing those. Anyways, we're not here about my travel plans. We're here to talk to you about what you got going on. If we're gonna start out, if you could describe the music that you produce in 3 words, what would you call it?
Organic tech house.
Tech
That's
house.
3 words, right?
Yeah, organic tech house. I love
But
it.
I think I've been doing tech house all my life, you know. The
Yeah.
thing is, how do you define tech house? If you go to Beatport and look under tech house, is not what I'm doing. I mean, with tech house, it's really literally a mix between techno music and house stands for the more groovy side of things, has to have a little bit soul, and techno stands for bit more up tempo, bit more minimalistic in terms of what happens within the track by a progression or by music as a tool. So I'm always moving in between, let's say, the 2 poles. Sometimes I could be more on the techie side of things, and I did releases on, I don't know, Penpot's label and so further. But then I could be really on the groovy side with some melodic stuff in. So I'm always moving in between these. But there's one thing in common. I try to make music and also to play music that always has kind of some soul inside, you know, not just average, whatever, fast foody, quick impact stuff. I try to really, I love stuff that has soul. That's actually the thing.
And your recent release that just came out at the first of the month, a collaboration with you and is it Namito or Namito?
Yeah,
And
it's
that's Can't Stop.
Namito, which
Yeah.
yeah, that's you could call it a bit more commercial, but not in a negative way. I think it's a typical track. And Namito is one of my oldest friends. He's a Berlin legend DJ, and we've been doing for, I don't know, 2 decades music together. He recently became actually really successful in the Iranian community. Meanwhile, he plays a lot of US, Canada shows. He sells really, like, he sells out. You can tell a lot of people from that, community come, and he stands lately for more, a little bit more for the groovy stuff, and super successful. And yeah, we did a studio session as we do since ages, from time to time. We came up with a nice bass line, and that was a moment where a singer came across in Riverside, and Riverside Studios is a community of 60 people. So there's sometimes people even hanging out who are in the community, but they're not running a studio with us. And there was singer Emil Romer, and we said, "Hey man, maybe you have an idea." And he wrote something, and so that one thing came after the other. We actually, literally, when we produced the track in the morning, I ran out of the studio 6 a.m. And one level above, there's a pretty good label, which is Embassy Record, Embassy One. And the founder just came across to start working in the morning and said, "Hey man, what's up?" I said, "I just come from a really cool session. Let me hear it." So I played him on the phone, and he kind of signed it, you know. So that's that release actually.
Awesome. And that's what's cool about such having such an awesome studio space and being able to have artists just walk through, hang out, and it looks like that kind of space where you can just grab somebody. Somebody can be out in one of the rooms doing some vocal practicing and go, "Get in here, we want you on a track." Is that kind of the synergy that happens at
But
Riverside?
that Riverside Studios is really about from day one. If you classically think of studios, yeah, you might think of all these Abbey Roads and all the big guys in LA and wherever. But the thing is, what we built is a music community where it was first about the people, our friends. We were 3 friends who just wanted to build a studio for ourselves. And then everyone would call us and ask, "Hey, do you have more space?" And that's why we thought, why not having more cool people around us? Just because we like to be with a lot of cool people. And something, yeah, like something started in this, that's 12 years ago. And meanwhile, we have these 27 music studios, but we're far more than music plays. We have a collaboration with the New York University, with SAE Institute. We have the GEMA, that's the publishing, the public, the rights company for authors in Germany, the association that have their first studio with us. We have collaborations, music tech industry like Native Instruments, or Moog had some time a studio with us. So we are far more than just a studio location, but at the end it's more about the people and the curation we put in. So we want to have first people who we really like personally, but then we want to have a diverse community, which we have. There's people they do film, people they do hip hop, but we have also someone like Richie Hott in the studio. So it's across the board, across all genres. We have female producers. We really look like to have some more female artists with us. So the mix makes it. And then when you have this community and people have trust, then these collaborations, that was you asked me, that starts because everyone trusts each other's. It doesn't matter if you're a jazz musician or a techno DJ. Everyone is open to check what you do. Maybe you have a cool idea, and that's what we all love about that place.
Yeah, I mean that would be always the dream that I wanted, was to have a studio space with multiple studios that could be doing multiple live streaming shows, as like a place where people could come and have their works, their shows produced, and do something. Everyone could collaborate kind of together, whether it's a DJ show, production show, a cooking show, a band show, a variety shows, and basically make our own live streaming studios where people could disseminate their work. I mean, now everyone kind of got the bid, and during Pandy started doing it from home. But I would love to come down and like I said, come visit you someday, just see the inner workings of Riverside. That seems like such an amazing creative space, and congratulations on keeping that going. How long has that been around for?
Yeah, we 12 years, but just let me add something. We at the moment we have this one bigger space which can be used as a bigger recording room, but we use it for certain events like listening sessions with the industry. We had lately a listening session with the Gorillas, where was Ed O'Brien, guitarist from Radiohead, did a mini show. We had a Spotify showcase with streaming, with Katy Perry, stuff like that. So what we just think into, it's not just thinking, we actually plan it. Fit it out with a proper streaming setup so people could exactly do what you're just saying. They could book us also to stream a mini show with up to maybe 100 people as a mini concert or interview situation or last time podcast stuff. So that's actually what we're looking into.
And to find out more information about that, they just go to riversidestudios.de. Find out more information about that. We'll bring that back up on the show in a little bit. But let's get back to talking about Martin and what Martin does. We can talk about Riverside, its own show on its own, all day long. Do you ever make music completely out of your own genre that never gets released?
That's a good question. The question is not if it gets released. The question is when does it get released? Because sometimes I go to my studio, and I'm running 7 different companies. So I'm not at the core living just for music anymore. I do other things because I was curious on other things, and music play a role in there. But I do other things, and I have people working for me. So there's a lot of time in my life that goes. I'm also involved in a political party here, so I do a lot of things. But I figured that making music is something that is really such a part of myself that I should not forget it. And there was a time I kind of forgot it a little bit, did not do much. But since, I don't know, 8, 9 months, I'm heavily going, or try to go at least 2 times a week into the studio. And I'm just starting stuff or working on stuff. And I found a lot of stuff on my hard drive that I once started thinking, oh, wow, it's really not bad. Let's work on that. And I think once I put focus on it, I get it somehow released, because first I have one label I own, it's Kling Klong Records, but then I'm involved in 2 other labels. One is with Ackermann, Ignite Records, and then I have other friends who run labels. So I think usually if I'm happy with the track, I either find someone who likes the track and say, yeah, let's release it, or I could always release it by myself. So there is not that much what I have that is not released actually.
What's the
Or I
longest?
work as long as it gets there.
What's the longest time you've ever consecutively spent working on in the studio on a track?
I never overdo tracks actually. I have to say that, because I believe if you over engineer music, it becomes not mainly not better. There might be people who are good at that, but I personally figured out sometimes keep things simple is actually the hardest part. And I think the more advanced producer you are, the more you master that challenge, keep things simple. It's not a general thing to everything, but mainly if we look into really good, successful electronic music tracks, they appear simple. It doesn't mean that they're really simple, but I see when you work on music, you tend to add stuff and that doesn't make tracks better. You can work long time on vocal editing, and that is something that just consumes time, right? And I'm usually working sometimes with partners and people, not always by myself, because I like collaboration and I have friends. Let's say I don't know if you know Jiggler. Jiggler is a really cool tech house producer too. I love the way he works. He's an amazing producer, and we work a track together at the moment. And he is so much into details that sometimes even it clashes between him and me in a positive way. And he just wants to work on this small thing and this small thing. But usually I don't do that. So to answer your question, I don't know if you ask me really into hours and days, since I'm 35 years producer, I'm way faster in things that I know in my head. I want to sound like XYZ, and I can twist and turn the synth, and I know where to get. Let's say 10 years ago, that would have taken double the amount of time. So I would say, by average, I work on a track maximum 4 days, 5 days, maximum. That's the maximum. But that could be there is a week in between or three because I just keep the thing. That's also something, by the way, that is really good. You start something, you feel the energy, and then maybe leave it somewhere. Because if you come back with a fresh mind, and I'm not meaning next day, 4 weeks later, 2 months later, you can judge it better actually. And I personally tend to, I don't like the stuff so much anymore if I work 3 days in a row. But sometimes you do that. But
Now,
that's the thing.
you mentioned a little bit, we'll talk about this, Kling Klong Records. And Kling Klong Records is obviously the label, but you also have a show. We're going to talk about those in two separate parts here. Tell us about Kling Klong Records and what one can expect. Is there a specific genre that Kling Klong Records is known for, or what's, when did you start Kling Klong and what is that all about?
I started Kling Klong Records around 20 years ago, actually. The reason was I was a bit tired of sending to people demos and then I get feedback, which is always fair to give feedback. But and when I thought or think a track is right and I play it, I would love not to change it, you know? So you have to release it by yourself and take the risk also of running a label because everyone has their point when they run a label that they have an idea of what has been released there, but it clashes when you think as a producer, I believe in the track as it is. So I started the track, and then there was a time where there was this label, Great Stuff Records, that had a really successful period, and it was around 2001, 2002. They had like proper worldwide club hits, and they were friends also, the guys who ran that label. So I decided to run a label and ask them to be my partner. And that's how I partnered up, teamed up with them because they were really experienced in distribution, marketing, bringing the music to the right, into the right channels, and yeah, making it successful. And we started a really successful collaboration. We had really proper, successful tracks on Kling Klong Records in the last 20 years. I think the most selling record still is from Nine Toes, Finder. If you Google the track, it is every year the most played Ibiza record. Like really, there's even Celtic, I think Celtic Glasgow Football Club. They sing the song in the stadium as their football chant. It's crazy. Carl Cox plays the track up and down since years. That's maybe the most successful track we had on Clinton. Sorry, there's a doorbell. If you ask me actually what's the sound, it is tech house. What I said before. Actually, it's exactly the same explanation. It's tech house music, and I did a break with the label because I was a bit of uninspired to release music. And around 6 months ago, I mean, I did some releases of my own stuff, but we were not really putting out a lot of records. We have more than 100 releases. Meanwhile, I don't know, we are 130 or 140 releases. And I reset up the label 6 or 7 months ago because Great Stuff Records, the old team, kind of, they stopped the label, they sold everything. So I did that with another partner. And yeah, like 6 to 7 months ago, I decided to restart the label, and I did that. And so we had since then 7 or 8 proper releases, doing well. Got received some nice Spotify playlists, nice DJ feedback. So it's fun.
And in addition to the Kling Klong Records, there's also a show that you produce. Is that a podcast series? I think I saw you had earlier this year had episode 389. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually a radio show. I started in a FM station. It used to be Germany's largest private FM station, definitely in dance music. The show used to have 200,000 listeners, always per show live. And I did this 10 years in a row. I drove my car to another city where the station was, South Germany. And Sunday evening, I had guests, all the DJs. But then I became really busy by flying as a DJ around the globe, and I couldn't do it live anymore. So I switched to a recorded setup in the beginning with a lot of talks and moderation like you do. But also, I had to skip that part because I was simply not able to serve it. But I still do the show, present every week a fresh DJ mix, look into, and it's a lot of preparation to look into the tracks. I never play tracks twice, always want to present new stuff, maybe unreleased. So there's a lot of editorial work before I do a mix of 1 hour, and I still have that show. So why I called it Kling Klong Show, because naturally I wanted to connect it to the label I do.
Absolutely. Outside of Kling Klong Records, what are your current top 5 record labels that are pushing out quality releases? If you could go to outside of your own, saying, I like what these top 5 are doing. Do you have 5 you can name off?
That's a really tough question because
You don't want to make any
generally,
enemies.
it's always a hard question. What are your top 5 gigs? What are your top most played tracks? I mean, that's easy. You can look in your statistics, but stuff like that. Because when you name 1 or 2, you forget, or it looks like you don't give the appreciation to a few others. So I could not really name these 5. I I have like a lot of producers I like so much. Like Jiggler was the one I just mentioned because they do this kind of amazing production quality, which I personally love. I love to have great production sound when you play in the studio or should you listen to onto it. But there's a few other people, and I find it really hard these days to really find new music because you could miss a lot of music because there's so much out, and to find in this incredible amount of even already promos I'm receiving, and then if I would go to Beatport or to other track stores or whatever, it's really hard to find your way through. So I guess the way how you ask what your favorite labels, it makes it a bit easier because that's kind of a curation you could give to. But I'm trying to listen to a lot of promos I'm receiving every week, skip them through a little bit. If something talks to me, I would pick it up. But there's all-time producers like Radio Slave or yeah, I don't know. There's really this maybe Maceo Plex or like really good producers on top level. I always like what they do. I have to say that.
Fair enough. Fair. I know. I don't want to. I didn't mean to put you in the hot seat there and get you in trouble with anyone. But
I named 5 and then I received 20 calls. Hey, what did you say here? Where's my label?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's so hard for me because people obviously over the years have asked me, what is your favorite or most memorable episode of the DJ sessions? And it's like, I have 2,500 episodes plus. When
Man,
can I ever pick
crazy.
which is my? I go every single one of them is my favorite episode, and
Yeah.
again, if I had to choose what are my other top shows I listen to, that'd be really tough because you're right. My goal as an executive producer producing an online stream, I give respect to anyone who's out there attempting to do a live streaming show. It doesn't have to be top level production. It could be just you're starting to do it. And being there as part of the community to help support them if they reached out and said, hey, what kind of cameras are you using? What kind of microphone are you using? How do I get more audience? Or what do I do to this? I'm always there to help support, whether they're just starting out or if they're way up at the top, So again, I can understand how it'd be definitely hard to choose that. I want to shift gears.
Darren, just rethinking, sorry to interrupt you. I just, if I think 35 years playing music, there's so much good music out there. And a lot of great producers just disappeared. I don't know, Patrick Chardonnay, Guido Schneider, Martin Lansky, and I could name like, I don't know, a big row of, they just disappeared or they do something else that didn't disappear. But if I look back, there's so much of great music and great production, and also like um, times where you have a little bit more focus on that kind of music. But producers also maybe change the way how they where they're now. Some get more a lot melodic. So yeah, it's just too much to really pick five out of them. Sorry for
Now,
that.
there may be something here. It may go right into our next question. The next question I'm going to ask you here is tell our DJ Sessions fans about Fanbase, the community app. What's that all about?
I figured more and more out one thing is we artists, and I remember when there was MySpace. Maybe not a lot of you here in the stream remember that. It's a long time ago. Was the beginning
I
of
do.
social media. Yeah, of course you do. And I remember then something like Facebook came up, right? And I missed the point because to switch all my fans to Facebook in the beginning. And I came late to the show because I realized, wow, there's no way not to do it, as we all know, right? But it was not clear in that moment. So after some time, you bring, I think now I have a couple of, I don't know, 100,000, I have 100,000 followers on Facebook. So I brought my fans to another platform. And suddenly this platform finds their business model, they make me pay for reaching out to my own fans. And there's something wrong in this system, right? It's like, wow, why should I pay you money and then you show 10% or 5% of the people I brought to you as new customers, as new clients, then my content goes to them. And I have a business partner who runs one of the biggest education platforms in Europe at least. And we sat down and said, can we turn this around? Because we artists, we still can bring our super fans to any platform. Why could it not be our own platform? Because actually that's what we want to do. And our own platform means we control the data insights. We own the data and no one makes us pay for it. So we develop Fanbase as a curated software solution that you bring your own app under your name. We have a few clients like Paul Kalkbrenner. He uses our app. He can bring his own app to the App Store and provide it to his super fans and can then provide his fans whatever he wants. In his case, he gives them tickets, access to exclusive news or merchandise. But now, since we reach the full scope of the product, where there is a messaging and community forum functionality inside. Now, actually, we're really able to roll it properly out as we always planned. Means we connect super fans in a curated way. So it's not like you would go to the Martin Eyerer app if I ever would have one, and you expect be entertained by content because that's what you find on social media. You are entertained by content. In my Fanbase app, which would be the Martin Eyerer app or the Riverside Studio space where we're just working on, you find a community of other people that you can access. And that's the reason why you go there. That's a different value proposition. And that's what we developed. Took us 6 years to develop it, to code it. We invested money. And yeah, we have a couple of clients and discussing with other clients, not just music related. Anyone who runs a community can use our tool to invite their curated community to their own platform.
What's the website people would go to find out more information about that?
It's fanbase.de, but actually it's a B2B product. It's not a platform. If you, as a customer, you cannot go to a Fanbase community. You can go to Paul Kalkbrenner to the App Store and download his app. And that's his Fanbase. We are just a technical solution. We give artists and other people their platform. So
I
if
would
you
use,
want to do a DJ sessions platform, you would be our client. We give you the app and you find in the App Store.
Awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Now, so B2B, not B2C. I got it. That's awesome because that was a hang up that years ago a lot of people built those pages on Meta, Facebook, and then they started charging to reach your own client, to reach your own fan base. And it's like, wait a second here. I just, that was just not, that wasn't a cool move in my book.
There's two things. What's the difference?
Yeah.
If you do that on Facebook and you open your group, you still have no insights in the data. Once more, you don't know really who's your super fan. And once more, if you want to reach out to these people, Facebook later makes you pay for it. And the
Yeah.
second thing is, Facebook is not meant to connect these people in between them. Like actively, why? Because you have the data and you know who lives where, who has which interests, you make trusted introductions, say, hey, you're a fan of Darren and we know you live in Vermont. We connect these three people and you have same interests, and that makes something, we give you a forum where other people have no access because it needs a safe space. That's actually a different offering than what Facebook does or
Yeah.
what any social media does.
Absolutely.
Social media offers you entertainment by content. It's fair, that's the product, but that's not what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting how social media has taken that turn. Like you mentioned MySpace, and then it was Facebook, and then it got Instagram, and now there's Snapchat and TikTok, and and LinkedIn out there for business professionals. It's a whole mix of tools out there. It's I use a tool to help manage all mine called Hello Wolfie, but that's just for social posts, to get stuff out there and scheduling stuff. But that's a whole new essence to the game. I saw a pie chart months ago, 6 months ago, maybe I've seen it a few times. It was like a diagram. It was a pie chart. It said how much time DJs spent on networking and how much time they spent on music production. And it was like 70% music production, 30% networking. And now it had flipped the script and is like, how much time do DJs have to spend on social media? And how much time do they spend producing? 70% on social media, 30% on actually producing because they have to be out there.
But you know what the point is about it? The point is, in the past, music production has been your marketing. You release records, and that's why people booked you. But that changed. No one books you for any record anymore. We have, because I was involved in the artist agency also, we had some artists, I don't name them, they had Beatport's number ones, a lot, like really. They don't get any bookings because 10 years ago, your calendar would be full, Beatport number ones. Now, they're not booking you because of that. Why? They say, how much is your social reach? What's the engagement of your fans? How many tickets will I sell? That means you need to be a professional in online marketing, social media marketing, which is the new logic that it works. I'm not judging that. Some people do it great and it can be something people love to do. I personally don't like it to do it, but if you don't do it, you will not be successful anymore. I
Yeah,
don't think that you can just be successful with great music. That's not enough.
yeah. And speaking of social media, I was looking at your Instagram here recently, doing the research on you before the interview. And I'm going to switch gears here up just a little bit. I saw that you were behind the scenes in the studio on IG just a few weeks ago, this past video. Is that your personal studio that we saw, or is that one of the Riverside studios?
It's my personal studio. I used to have 10 years the largest studio at Riverside Studios with all the analog setup. I had mixing desk owned by Pink Floyd and analog gears and this water view. I still have it in the new studio. And you would come in and say, wow, this is a proper music studio. And then when I started to focus on other businesses, I figured out one thing, the studio most is not used, which is a pity. Second thing is I want a different setup, which is smaller and provides me what I need. And I don't need to have, because I'm not working with all these music clients anymore. That was another reason. So I gave the studio to someone. I rented out actually. And I decided to share the studio with two other friends. The one is Taslo from Penpot, and the third one is my new partner at Riverside Studios. Because I said, I'm fine to have 2 days a week in the studio. I don't need more because otherwise it would be a shame the studio is empty. So let's throw the things together. In my case, I kept all my software, all my plugins. I got latest MacBook Pro. I got one guitar, one microphone, and one synthesizer. And that's it. And I took this in the new setup, which looks very clean, slick, super cool. We have still the water view, but that's a different setup. And it feels well actually to reduce sometimes. And it's my studio.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you lean still in this day and age, 2024, do you use more hardware or more software in your productions, or is it a 50-50 still, or mix?
I I use hardly any hardware, nearly zero. My favorite synth is Innovation Peak synthesizer, which is just has a hardware filter inside of it. The rest is digital, just like I like it because I know it so much. It's a synth that's super versatile. I can just turn the knobs and I know exactly what will come out. But I think also the quality of software is so good, and the advantage of taking this MacBook sometimes with me. I went to Dubai for a business trip. I built my hotel studio. I love that, man. It's really cool. You can work really well on it. And then the most important thing in the studio, what I have is the listening situation that needs to really sound proper, gives me proper feeling, and that is clear. You cannot save money on that. But the rest, I have to say, if you have a great audio card, I really, really think for what I'm doing, and I'm not doing this big production mixing analog for big clients, which I did before, it's a perfect setup. And I love the flexibility and yeah, that it's more lean. I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, what are some of your favorite DAW? What's your DAW you use right now?
I worked with Ableton Live since I think 10 years before I was a Cubase person, but I think Cubase has its points when it comes to yeah, like mixing bigger projects. I would always choose more Cubase. I think the way how Ableton, the approach, how the DAW is set up is more a intuitive, creative way workflow I can use. But yeah, that's in let's say I'm yeah 90% like an Ableton guy, but I also like another DAW which is Bitwig. I don't know if you know about Bitwig. Bitwig is a small company that was founded by one of the original co-founders from Ableton. That's why it's very compatible with Ableton. You can even open Ableton projects into Bitwig. And I think Bitwig might be even the better DAW, to be honest. The only reason why I stick to Ableton is that I'm compatible with other producers. You know, when they come and work with me, you need to be on one platform so everyone has their hands on the same DAW. But I think Ableton is the one of my choice.
Yeah. Now, are you still out there DJing? Are you looking to book tours and get out there? In addition to all the production work, I mean, you got
It's
7 different companies you run. Do you find time to actually get out and book tours, not just in your own city, but throughout Europe? Or are you looking for anything in the U.S.?
You know, the best city to play techno at is Berlin. Everyone comes to play here. It's really true. I have to tell you. There, of course, there's great parties out there. I would not say that now. But in Berlin is some of the best clubs in the world. I can grab a cab, go to the club, play in some of the best venues in the world, and go by cab home. I don't need to fly anywhere. There's the best international crowd. People come from all over the place, like for real. And that is why I love to play here, and I play frequently here. I have a residency at Sisyphos, which is maybe after Berghain the most known, one of the most known techno clubs out there. And I play like 3 shows per year. Then there's a few venues I play here, open air clubs, and then sometimes there is a gig here and there. I will play a festival in 2 weeks, which is in Germany, a really cool festival. It's called Field Festival. It's a 25,000 people festival. Then there was some inquiries now in Mexico and Colombia. So if there something comes in, and from time to time some shows come in, I will definitely look into these. But I'm not taking everything as I did in the past because I simply don't have the time, because when I lately had some really nice opportunity to play in the mountains of France, but I figured the traveling would be absolutely crazy, and it would have killed me nearly, actually 2.5 days. So I can't just not afford that. So I look into okay, what makes sense and what is really pure fun. And when it comes to US, I don't have a work permit as I don't play so often, so I could not take these opportunities anymore. But yeah, I play, let's say per year, maybe 15 shows, which is
Okay.
1.5 per month. Maybe it can be 20, but not more. But it's absolutely perfect. I love playing, but I have so much going on. So
Yeah.
you have to choose in life,
Do you prefer large scale festivals, or would you rather DJ at more intimate clubs? What is your choice between the two?
I, I always was a club DJ. I mean, I think playing festivals is easy because when you have a big crowd, you can more or less play energetic stuff and it will always work. The smaller the crowd, the higher the challenge actually to really figure a set of, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours, get the journey in where people really are in, and it gets like yeah intimate. I would say Ideal size is maybe 500 people club with proper music lovers and people who are really into music. I think that's the ideal scenario if you ask me.
Yeah, and outside of Berlin, what is your favorite city to play in?
I think there's a few cities globally where they have this vibe. It used to be Moscow, which for some people it's surprising because never they have Russia really on their radar. I mean, lately, yeah, I don't know if anyone plays there since there's this war with Ukraine. It's even dangerous to go to. But Moscow had at least before all this, before the pandemic, that was the last time I've been there. It had also like really couple of really cool clubs. Then I would name as well some South American, Latin American cities, which is Mexico City, which is Buenos Aires, which is maybe Sao Paulo, Colombia. There's a few like in Bogota. So that's maybe the spots, and definitely also Australia. There was always really great parties. The other cities like in Asia, I played a lot. I had great parties, but that is more like they're not coming from this electronic music culture. They're coming more for R&B culture. So it's like in the United States, there's this huge, let's say, R&B culture. Doesn't mean that there are great techno parties or venues, but there is not this majority of like, yeah, I would say there's a lot of, especially in Asia, expats, they go to these clubs and you could have really nice parties. But yeah, the cities I named are maybe the ones where you always know great parties.
Have you ever visited a faraway country, a faraway city from Berlin, where you actually were surprised that people knew your music, knew who you were when you got there, and like went crazy when you dropped a track, or like they knew you when you got there? Has that ever happened to you before?
Yeah, actually a lot because when people booked me in these clubs, then it is actually it used to be really because of exactly what I produced, and then there were people who came for the music, and the game changer was when there was the switch from physical, let's say vinyl, to digital DJing because you could see, and I had a few main markets where I was really had my name and was flying a lot. Mexico was one of these countries, and suddenly you play, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the jungle, and because these people had access to your releases because they were digital also available. And that's why I always remind people when they say, vinyl is so cool. Yeah, it has something, but to be honest, not everyone in the world had access on vinyls, and could play with vinyls. So I would say, yeah, definitely a lot when I came somewhere because I had so many releases in my life, and the music was more the fact that promoted me. And even till today, people book me. Mostly they book me because there were some promoters, they were fans of my music, so there usually are people they come actually also for the tracks. And I'm maybe to add that I was lucky in my life. I had a few records they did really well. Not all of these releases, but there were a few. One with Chopstick, we did Haunting with a singer that was Philippe Starr from Paris that sold 100,000 vinyls, and it hit even the sales charts in Australia and a few countries. So I had two, three records like that where really people knew and they booked you really for these records.
Nice. Now, have you ever experimented with mixing audio and video at the same time? And if not, is that something you do in the future? And I'm not necessarily saying you're mixing or producing music to go along with video like a VJ comes in and does something live, but something that would maybe be part of a audio visual experience for your listeners or your attendees to your shows. Have you ever done anything like that before?
No, actually, not really. I think there's a couple of reasons. First, I'm so much into audio all my life, and maybe I'm kind of some expert in that. And I think if I would go into another field like that, I think it's too crazy for me to think about that because I deep dived so much into music and engineering, and I read books, I worked with people, and I tried always to improve, to improve, to improve. And if I then think I deep dive into another topic, and I'm this kind of guy, I want to really deep dive. that this is kind of okay, I can't do that. What I did is I went into photography. When I was on tour, I started a couple of years ago really to photograph, sorry, all the tours, and went into like photo editing and that stuff like that. But then to go into motion picture and combine it with audio, I think I think I would like it, but I just don't think I can invest the time anymore.
Have you looked into anything and doing anything in virtual reality yet, or been asked to be part of anything in virtual reality?
I got some touch points because I have some friends. They do Web 3.0 experiences, and there is really, really good stuff, like amazing stuff there, I have to say. And I have one friend, you could check out Ravespace. I think it's ravespace.io. He came up with a virtual club experience within the pandemic. And the nice thinking about it is that it's not about trying to replace club experience by the sound and the music. It's more like what actually is also part of the experience. It brings people together. So what you could do at Rave Space, you have an avatar, and it's browser based, which makes it actually pretty accessible for anyone. That was the good thing about it. You met really people in his Rave Space, random people or people you knew by avatar. And that was actually a cool experience. I liked it a lot. And he recorded DJ sets with in a green screen room and put it as a live um, experience inside his club, and I liked it very much. But I was in the pandemic, and yeah, I'm in touch with a few people who create, yeah, like virtual or augmented reality experiences. There's two, three amazing agencies. They do big, large shows. One company, they also work, besides of many companies in Las Vegas, um, for this really crazy thing I need to see once. And so what I want to say is I have touch points. I see the potential. I believe also in something great there, but it's also not again a field I'm like really going into right now. But I would not say that this could not happen.
Is your buddy doesn't have to be Frank Hahn over there, is it?
Ah, yeah, you know him. Yeah, that's the
I don't
one.
know. I'm on the website right now. I'd love to get him on for an interview. I'd love to talk with that company.
Yeah, you should do that. You definitely. This guy has a lot to tell. He worked for music tech industry, Akai, and all these like and companies. So he has a lot to tell already from that side. And now he is really successful. When he started Rave Space, he tapped into a new field. Meanwhile, his agency, still called Rave Space, they produce like Web 3.0 and interactive um, 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 spaces like Universal Music, new headquarters and stuff. Really interesting. You should invite him. He has a lot to
Yeah,
tell.
I definitely want to reach out to them because we do have our virtual reality nightclub that we
All
launched
right, really.
early last year. We launched it on a platform, but unfortunately, that platform got shut down. It was a pretty awesome
Mm,
platform, but we had to move over to VR chat, VRC. And so we have our nightclub. This interview is actually broadcasting live in our virtual reality nightclub right now. And it's a pretty awesome nightclub. We're super excited to get things up and running there with our live interviews, our exclusive mixes, and more content in VR. And I'm looking for a solution. Right now VR has its limitations with some of these platforms, but I want to get to that level where we're being able to do something like Fortnite did with Marshmallow and have 12 million
mm.
people. Well, I don't know, 12 million people. That's a lot of people, but where we can have an interactive community room where it's, a lot of these platforms, they limit it to 40 to 80 people. And if it starts getting glitchy, if you have too many people and it creates another instance. So at that 41st person is now alone in the room by themselves until more people join in. And that's just a
I think
limitation of the platforms, but
you should definitely look into Rave Space because that is
yeah,
something they solved because they have this browser experience based thing which doesn't send all the data through the web. It's really that makes a lot of sense. You should look into it.
I will. I will. I'll talk with you after the show about getting in touch with Frank. That'd be awesome. But I'm all about VR. I think that's going to be the next thing. People thought I was crazy when I talked about QR codes back in 2010. They thought, "What are you talking about? This is crazy." Now they're everywhere, and I'm like, "This is going to be the most awesome thing in the world for so many reasons." And even live streaming DJs. Who wants to watch a DJ live streaming? Then all of a sudden, Pandy hit, and now everyone knew it. Like people didn't know what Twitch was. I'd have to explain to them, you know what YouTube is, and Google owns YouTube. Well, Amazon kind of backs Twitch, in the sense of things. And they're like, oh, it's that big?
I mean, I would say if we look at into a Vision Pro, which is the first iteration of a new product, which is too expensive, maybe it's a bit too heavy and all of that, but you can see where that goes. And I'm very sure once this gets accessible, affordable, that can be a game changer, actually.
Yeah. When you're not listening to dance music, back to the music though, when you're not listening to the dance music or producing dance music, DJing dance music, what do you listen to?
My favorite band is Radiohead. I love Massive Attack. I like, yeah, this kind of super complex produced music, not easy, but yeah, like deep. I did a lot of collaborations with Craig Walker, who is a singer from a band called Archive.
Okay.
And this band was pretty successful like 20 years ago. And they reunited just recently. The stuff they just produced, he's now living in Miami. It's amazing, actually. So, yeah, I don't ever listen actually to dance music because I believe dance music is not really music to listen, it's to dance to and to feel it in clubs. But yeah, I usually not really listen to dance music.
And now you run 7 different companies, your production, your DJ. What do you do when you're taking a break from all that? What are some of the things, what are the activities that Martin likes to do outside of all this business? And I mean, people don't know, guys like you and I, what we do behind the scenes. They see what we put out, like our product, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes, the meetings, the collaborations, the phone calls, all that stuff to make the magic happen. When you take a break from that, what do you enjoy doing with your life?
I have a lot of stuff. First, I have a family, so I have 3 kids. They're like in a really great age, 25, 22, and 14. So I love to meet my kids and do with them things. And then I do a lot of sports too, which is something I really, really need. That's actually my most important thing. I run around 4 times a week, and I do once a week, like a boxing meeting in a boxing class. And this gives me really a moment to think of, brainstorm and think of things. And I see, like, when I have a speech somewhere or something, I always run in the morning and I know, okay, I got the right idea how to intro, how to open the speech, stuff like that. So that is really the thing I love. But then I also have a lot of interests, but I don't have the time for it. So I try to combine them. I love motorbike riding for my life, but I don't have time to do tours. But one of my dreams would be to go to US and do this like big turn around, started in, I don't know, in Vegas, and then go to the coast, go down the Death Valley, make this big circle. I have to do this once in my life. But what I mean is, I use the bicycle to commute every day from my house downtown, and I enjoy already these rides, which is 45 minutes drive in every direction. But still, I have to do my meetings on my headset because I cannot miss this 1.5 hours by day just by riding. So I'm trying to combine these things. So yeah, I have a
Yeah.
lot of other interests, but there's a limit of time, and I moved away from living from music, which is actually a nice thing because suddenly you don't have the pressure of being commercially successful with music, and you can just do easy music, and that is so much fun. And but I'm living mainly now from we transform with our company former industrial areas into creative and innovation districts. Like we're building in one big asset, like a concert hall for 10,000 people. There will be startups, there will be sports. So that is something, and I'm mentioning that because I moved away from 30 years doing always the same, even though it's a pleasure to make music. But I try always to dive into new topics, and that gives me also a lot of reward and feedback. So yes, part of it is always work because you need to work all your emails off and stuff, but you always meet new people, you get new input, you learn, and that keeps me like excited. And I think the combination of all of that, that's the interesting thing for me.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given and that you still stick to this day after 35 years of being in the industry?
It's an advice I give, and some people give it to you. If you look into what makes people successful, never give up. It's really that. Stay on. That's the thing. This is actually the one thing that unites every successful person from not successful. Successful people, they believed and they went forward and forward and forward. There's problems, you solve them, but you don't change. You stay on. And that is actually the one thing. And the other thing is what I give people, think into your network. People, even it happens to me sometimes, even they don't think in their network. When you have a challenge, you might not know the one person that helps you, but you know maybe one person that knows the person that can help you. And sometimes we forget our networks. It's of course not abusing them. It's we have trusted networks means we're not just calling when we want something. But if we have built a good network, then we can of course from time to time use it, and we sometimes should not forget to throw something into the network. And the last thing about this network is, and I could speak long time about networking, is that when my son told me when we spoke about that, he said, "But yeah, Dad, but you have a network, but I haven't." I said, "My network is your network because you are within that network." So that's what we should not forget, and that's actually maybe the two things I speak to people, and maybe other people would have told me to.
And if you could give one production tip or insight to new producers out there, obviously never give up is one of the key things. I can really, that resonates with me a lot with the DJ sessions after doing this show for almost 14 years, but I've been in film and television, internet production for over half my life, for almost 32 years. Even if you go back to when I started playing with a video camera at the age of 6, and I turned 50 next month. So I've been playing around with this technology new stuff for 44 years, never giving up, always progressing, always looking to the new things that are coming out. But if you could give one production tip or insight to new producers out there, what would that be?
Try to keep things simple. I said in the beginning, but if you start new, there's some techniques you need to learn, and the best way to learn them is to take your favorite track and try to reproduce it. Try really to copy it, and that's not in a bad way, in a good way to learn, because you will start to listen exactly into the track, and you will figure out things that you didn't hear, and then try to redo them. That's the one thing for beginners where you learn most, I believe. And the second thing, when you're like a little bit advanced, a little bit, just don't overdo the tracks. Keep them simple, because when you have a feeling that there's something missing, it doesn't work, then you're on the wrong way. Because the good stuff works already. You have one great bass line and a little bit of groove. And if that is already good, that's why I have bass tattoo here, then there's something. And sometimes and it happens to me too, you produce something and it's the magic is not there, you don't feel it, and then you look for new stuff and you add it, but then there's the moment, wow, it's cool, and you look for more stuff and you will lose it and forget that you had this great moment before. So go back there, throw the stuff away, no matter how good it is. And I know it's hard, kill your baby, kill your darling, that's what they say, and go back 2 steps back, makes sometimes 3 steps forward, but keep it simple. It's actually the thing.
Keep it simple. Totally understand. A good piece of advice out there. A couple last questions we got before we let you go, Martin, is 35 years in the industry. If somebody wrote a biography about you, what do you think the title should be?
It was all about the network.
It was all about the network. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
the whole life is about, and if we look into it, it's a trusted network, right? And it's not just any network. Any network is Facebook, it's a network. A trusted network is a curated network. That means, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I think we should be really aware of how we treat connections we have, treat them with respect, and what can we do to help others within that network. And if you make music, whatever business you do, on the network, actually in my life is about that, because that's what the question was. And that's why after, I don't know, this 30 years music industry, I started to be engaged in politics, and I started to lobby for creative economy, and especially in Berlin. And people ask me, "Wow, it's crazy how fast you move in politics," because I'm meanwhile in the Conservative Party on the states board. And I made it there within 8 years. And they said, why is that? Yeah, because I know how to network for music industry. It's the same thing. Yeah, if you want to play on those festivals, those clubs, you be on the labels. It's about network. It's not about just the music that you do. When people send out these promos and demos, you think a label these days will not sign you because the track is so amazing. They receive crazy amount of demos. It's about they look into who is this person? Would it fit into our community, into our network? Do you have right introductions to make them listen to your track because the music plays a role, but it's not maybe the key role. It's the person behind. It has everything to do with the networking and as I said, also the DJing, the shows you want to play. It's very much related of how can I get the connection there? Because the thing is when you have a need, there's always at least one person on this globe who could help you with that need. So the question is not how do I get the money to pay for it? The question is how to get this person to help me with that need and how to find the person. And that's about networking and that's about success in music industry too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Networking. I think that's definitely one of the things I try to tell people: get out there, meet people, talk to people, network. You never know who you're gonna find, and like there's like-minded people out there. I remember Alan Watts. Definitely, one of these videos I watched, an inspirational video, is you look up "What Do I Desire" by Alan Watts, and he does this little monologue, and it's about doing something, and then eventually, if you do it, you'll go out there and doing it long enough, you'll find other people that are doing the same thing, and then you can collaborate and grow and become better and find that community, find that network of people to really further yourself. I think that's just something, and never giving up
And
and networking is key.
Darren, when you're a young producer, of course you want to be in those 5 top labels you wanted me to name, right? That's the thing. But the question is, how did they start? They started all of them as a small group of people, usually not successful yet, and they grew and then they became successful and suddenly everyone wants to be there. But you should maybe look into starting a network and be part of that, be part of the growth story instead of trying to get there when they're like on the high fly, which they would either way not look into you. And that is sometimes the thinking we forget. These people, they invested all of their time in a group of friends usually, said let's build this together. And I think that's the best advice you can give when it comes to this kind of labels and stuff. Find like-minded people, friends, cool music producers, start something and grow it there. And then maybe the other people will apply to be on your platform.
Exactly. We've been toying with the idea of starting a label over here at the DJ Sessions. Might have to pick your brain a little bit on that in the near future, but always a pleasure having you on the show. We're definitely going to follow up with you. Definitely want to reach out to some of those other residents from Riverside as well and get them on the series. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
Maybe I just wanted to say that since you have that Mackie t-shirt, that was my first mixer. And I love it.
Yeah, we love our partnership with
No,
Mackie.
no, that was it was off topic, but yeah, what do I want to let you know? I think a real advice is, and everyone knows it already, but it's sometimes good to hear it twice. You want to make a career in music, you have to, I know it's the 70/30 thing, you have to really focus on the marketing from day one and with the same amount of time as the music, because you don't want to end up with the perfect tracks, but no one will release them, and you will then end up having no, how you say, um, or reach out with your music, because that's the same thing, right? There's good music you have, but then you want people to listen to it. So focus from day one also on that. Build it proper, think smart. I mean, the nice thing about today is on YouTube, wherever your channel, you can learn from others, get your tips on, and like build it properly. But 50% is music, 50% is the marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to tell people that all the time. It's you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, nobody knows about it. So, again, Martin, thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find out more information about you? Where's the best place to go to send people?
It could be either Riverside Community, that is a good one because we have our socials, it's pretty active. We can learn what is going on there. Second, we will build announcement actually a professional artist base called RS Base based on fan base as technology, but it's going to be a professional music community, global one. So we will announce it on Riverside Studios. Will be launched soon. We're in preparation since half a year. But then, of course, there's my Instagram. It's always Martin Eyerer Instagram / Martin Eyerer, one word, same as Facebook, Insta. LinkedIn is more the professional side I'm using. That is more not so much my music related projects, more like the innovation and other topics. So yeah, you're gonna find me, I'm sure. And Spotify, of course, that's maybe the most important channel to listen to my music or my releases. I have my account there, same name, of course, and SoundCloud. You will find the weekly radio show I'm doing for download as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show again. I know it's been a while since we caught up, and I'm glad, a little skips and bumps and things that happened. The scheduling got you on the show. I definitely want to plan that trip out this year to come to Berlin. I think that's going to be my go-to.
Yeah,
we'll talk after the show about that, because with 108 clubs, I wouldn't be able to visit them all in a couple weeks. But definitely with your.
There's one thing, Darren. I nearly forgot. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
That's another call out. I think that's a good one. We have maybe you might remember the Love Parade back in those days, right? In the peak, we had more than 1 million, 1.2 million people dancing on the streets. Now there is this Rave the Planet parade, which they started. It's actually the original founder of Love Parade. He started a new parade 3 years ago, and they expect 500,000 people this year dancing in this big parade. And we, Riverside Studios, we have a truck there afloat where there is 100 people on dancing, and there's all these trucks going. So if you're in Berlin, you go to Riverside Studios. We still have a few tickets left to be on our float. We have great lineup. We have 8Ks from Afterlife Records. We have Speaker Honey from Los Angeles. I will play. Toby Neumann will play. And you will dance on the truck between 500,000 people. And it's on August 17 in Berlin, which is a Saturday. You should check it out. Maybe that could be good for you as well.
My birthday month, I was going to go to New York for my birthday in September. Maybe I'll just have to go to Berlin and come out there, and let's talk after the show about that, because I got some ideas and I'd love to get a ticket and come out there. I don't know. I have to find an Airbnb or something quickly. Or maybe they're all booked up, but I can arrange it. I'll make it happen. Let's talk after the show about that, because I got some ideas. I got some really great ideas for that part.
That's good.
I'd love to be a part of that. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the DJ Sessions. Again, always a pleasure. Looking forward to talking with you again. Catch up with you in maybe catch up with you next month, maybe in Berlin on the ground. But definitely want to stay in touch with you and find out all the more that's going on with Kling Klong and Riverside over there as well.
Thanks a lot for having me, Darren. Always a pleasure. Great talk with you. And looking forward to the next one, which is maybe here in Berlin or maybe in US.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna see if I can make that happen. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on all the socials there, right up in the top right-hand corner. You can download our mobile app. New version of it's coming out here soon. We have over 600 news stories a month. We have live interviews, exclusive mixes, our merch store, everything, information on our virtual reality nightclub, our events that we do, contests, giveaways, and more at thedjsessions.com. I'm your host, Darren, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and that's Martin Eyerer coming in from Berlin, Germany for the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.